You're listening to Making Data Simple, where we make the world of data effortless, relevant, and yes, even fun.
Welcome back to the Making Data Simple podcast. Many thanks to the listeners out there. Last week I was at IBM Thinks conference and I had a presentation of my own, and many of you came up to me to chat with me after that presentation, said you recognize the voice, very humble appreciation. I appreciate everybody that's listening. So today we're here to chat about IBM Cloud Private for Data, otherwise known as ICP for D. You know, at IBM, we've always got to have an acronym. So it's ICP for D. And we'll describe what that is in a moment. But let me introduce the stars of the day. I've got two guests with me today. The first guest is Madhu Kochar. I've known Madhu for a very long time. She's absolutely first class. She is the Vice President of ICP for Data and Unified Governance Development. She's a peer here with Data and AI Development. And then I've also have Hemant Manda. And he's driving the offering around ICP for Data. And his son is also a Chiefs fan, so that's a bonus for Hemanth. But he's formerly the director of platform offerings for IBM Data and AI, and again, namely ICP for Data. So welcome to you both. I appreciate you guys being here.
Thanks, Al.
So I know you both very well. Let me give you the opportunity just to introduce yourselves to the larger community here. And Madhu, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and go first.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, like you said, Madhu Kochar, I'm peer of Al, lead the product development engineering for our new offering in data and AI called IBM Cloud Private for Data, in short ICP for Data. And I also lead the segment around unified governance and integration as well, based out of San Jose, California.
Terrific. Hemanth.
Yeah, thanks, Al. This is Hemant Manda. I lead the offering management for IBM Cloud Private for Data, based in Dallas. And as Al rightly pointed out, we do support Chiefs, at least a part of our family.
And we appreciate that. Can you say that Kansas City has the better barbecue, though? That's the question.
That we have to debate on.
All right. We'll leave that for another day, but at least we can agree on the Chiefs. Hemanth during the playoffs was texting me during the Chiefs game, and unfortunately we came up short, but I guess there's always next year. Tell your son to hold faith. When we just got back from IBM Think, like I said, and I don't want to turn this into too much of a conference discussion, but one thing I did have a question for you guys, in that you were there for a week, you talked with many clients. What were the main themes that you came back with? I mean, what's the community, what's the industry thinking about? Any thoughts there as we jump into this? What about you? Sorry, go ahead, Madhu.
Sorry. So one of the themes which I heard, and I think it kind of resonates what Al, we've been talking about this last year as well, that every business out there, every organization, every enterprise is looking to transform themselves. Either it's the journey towards digital transformation, self-service, or modernizing their stack. IT budgets are getting reduced, and everybody wants to get to AI. It's for some, it still feels like a buzzword. They just don't know how to get started or what does that mean. And every industry itself is so different, right? So what could be for banking could be very, very different for example, oil and gas. So those were some of the common themes, at least was in my conversation as I was talking with clients and business partners.
What about you, Hemanth?
Yeah, I think somewhat similar, right? People are struggling with how to basically embrace AI and start leveraging and monetizing the data. But also people are looking into how to modernize and try to essentially embrace and adopt cloud, because getting to public cloud is a nirvana for many of the industries and and enterprises that we work with for a number of reasons, right? Because of the regulatory and compliance constraints they live in. So they are looking to, and they are very excited about what we are doing with cloud native architectures, namely ICP and ICP for data. So that's another point that I saw resonated very well, at least in my conversations with customers.
I think
L1 point, which I felt there was a universal consensus, so to speak, that they all believed in hybrid cloud. And the definition of that is that they all agree that there's going to be certain workloads which are always going to stay on-prem, behind the firewall, and indeed there are going to be multiple clouds out there for their new deployments and such. So the whole concept of hybrid cloud, I felt like, was quite across the board and across every industry.
I agree, but what about multi-cloud, which is a little bit different?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And actually, in one of my presentation, which I was doing at Think, I polled the audience and asked them about multi-cloud as to who got more than, 2. And I think about close to 70 to 80% hands went up. And people think multi-cloud is not just pure vendors like Amazon or Azure or IBM Cloud, but also, Salesforce is a cloud for them, Workday is a cloud for them. So definitely multi-cloud definition is out there, and that brings a lot more challenges, right, in terms of how are they going to get insights out of all this data which is residing in all these multi-cloud?
Yeah, I mean, I get a sense, Al, that people are not actually taking multi-cloud very seriously. They do understand it at a high level. Probably system integrators are looking at it more seriously. But very soon, this is going to become a big problem, especially once you start having multiple clouds and you have to essentially manage data, manage workloads, manage applications across these multiple clouds with different governance policies, with different licensing arrangements. It's going to be a challenge, and unless you have a vendor or you have a process to handle this, it's going to be a serious problem pretty soon.
Yeah, I think where we're absolutely consistent is that I think everybody's looking towards becoming a digital business and working their way across the maturity curve, as I often point out when I'm driving. And I'll talk to when I'm pitching, and I'll talk to that in just a minute. I think everybody's really driving the hybrid cloud piece as well. The one issue that stuck out for me, or one item that stuck out for me, which I applaud, is the fact that there was a lot of talk about AI not being magic. And I think that's important because as clients are pushing through that maturity curve towards ML, towards AI, I think one thing that inhibits that final drive is the fact that, it's hard. If you can't see what's under the covers, you don't see what's under the hood, it's hard to trust it. So that's where at IBM I'm pretty pleased that we're driving things around explainability, around anti-bias, etc. So we're lifting up the hood. You can see how the decisions are being made, so you can trust those decisions. I don't know if you guys caught the same thing, but I was pretty. I thought that was a theme throughout the conference, and I think it's rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a LinkedIn post, and apparently this is a comment that our general manager, Rob Thomas, made, and it goes something like this. If you see something written in Python, it is probably ML, which is machine learning. And if you see something written in PowerPoint, it's probably AI. It's probably simplifying it a little bit, but the gist of it is I think we make too much of AI. It's more simple than what it is.
Yeah, what we're doing is computer science here. It isn't magic. So I'm with you.
Yeah, and just to that point, Al, right? Like you said, rightfully, that AI is not a magic, right? The other team, another strong point of view we in IBM has been talking about is that there's no AI without IA, right? IA meaning information architecture, and that just the definition of all that means is, every organization their own choices of their technology, their stack, their workloads, processes, policies, and whatever, to make that IA. So that really then also implies everything around data, right? If they know where the data is, how do they collect it? How's the data organized and analyzed? I mean, that is sort of what will get them to AI once they have figured out what their IA and the new modernization of that information architecture should look like.
Yes, and a perfect segue as we're in the Making Data Simple podcast. So let me come back to, that was a good discussion. I want to come back to ICP for Data, IBM Cloud Private for Data, speaking of. And Madhu, you and I had an opportunity to sit down at Think, and I think we were doing a video at the time talking about ICP for Data. And I gave an analogy there that I thought I would repeat here. And that is, we're promoting what we call the journey to AI, but really it's about becoming a digital business. It's around collect, organize, analyze, and infusing AI. And I look at it like at a maturity curve from left to right. I've talked about it before on this podcast, which is essentially data, unified governance, analytics, machine learning, and AI. And we have this objective, at least one of many objectives, but of making everyone like an ML chef. But for anybody to be a chef, you've got to have a kitchen, you got to have recipes, you got to have meal kits if you just decide not to make your own recipe. And to me, that's the best analogy that I have, is that ICP for Data is that kitchen, a platform, if you will, to bring everything together today. And so let me pause there. Technically, Madhu, I'll start with you. Can you explain what ICP for Data is?
Sure. So think of, like we just talked about in terms of, requiring the right IA to get to AI, and how do you really make the data ready for AI. So what IBM Cloud Private for Data provides is a platform, so to speak, and a very, I would say, trusted analytic foundational platform for you to be able to access data, even move data onto the platform if needed, but be able to get to data through virtualization. Comes with built-in knowledge catalog where we can understand where the data is coming from. We can understand what is the quality of the data. We can understand the lineage, the usage of the data. Al, to your earlier point when you were talking about the trust of the AI, right? So this is the Watson Knowledge Catalog is the core which helps you with the further traceability and explainability of your models. Then on ICP for Data, it helps you on the analyze phase where you have the capabilities to build models, be able to deploy models, the whole DevOps around the models, and then to top it all, really to operationalize AI with the trust and the transparency as it's needed. And if you open up the hood on ICP for Data, after all these functions, it's a cloud-native platform. Orchestration is done all through Kubernetes, microservices architecture. That implies a lot of application portability. This kind of fills the hybrid cloud world, like you build once and you run anywhere. And on top it all, there is a lot of open APIs. We obviously use a lot of open source when we build this product, this platform. And open APIs where it's very easy for any partner, any tech partner, or any client as they start leveraging our platform to start building solutions on top. I know I said a lot, but this is sort of truly the end-to-end platform.
Very nice. I think very, very nicely done. Hemanth, let me ask you. So we're talking about a microservices platform. Why? Here's my question. You're the offering guy. Why is everyone talking about microservices? what companies make use of microservices, and what are the benefits? What are the and if if you can look at pros, what are also some cons, if any?
Yeah, so I think pretty much everybody is embracing microservices of late, and there's a valid reason for that, right? Because it makes it simple to build cloud-native applications. They are portable, given that you can run it on any cloud infrastructure, and more importantly, it gives you the flexibility to scale up and down, and it gives you the objective building services in a structured fashion, right? So there are a lot of benefits that containers and Kubernetes provide, and more importantly, what we are seeing is that as folks shift to modernize their applications, they would like to essentially embrace all these concepts that containers and Kubernetes provide as a default, right? Because there's a lot of benefits that they offer in terms of making sure that they are portable, that they are flexible, and that they can easily scale up and down based on the requirements. That's what people are excited about containers and Kubernetes.
So let me ask you this, Hemanth. Scaling up and down, could you define that further for those listening? What does it mean to scale up and down easily?
Yeah, so think of this, right? Today you might have a database, and you're trying to essentially address the requirements of a couple of applications. And you know the workload, you know how many queries you're getting, and you know how much you have to scale. But let's say your applications become very popular, 2 more additional applications, and you need to quickly scale up. In a typical world, you would have to procure more hardware. You would have to obviously provision that hardware, and you have to make sure that your databases are deployed and configured. You have to do all these pieces, which used to take a few days, if not a few weeks, if not a few months, right? And this would impact your business. But with a cloud-native architecture with containers and Kubernetes, as long as you have the resources for your private cloud or the public cloud, all you need to do is you can allocate more resources, and that can be done with a click of a button. So instead of waiting days and weeks and months, you can do it in a matter of seconds. So that's the beauty of the cloud-native architecture, which is being brought to you by containers and Kubernetes.
Now, this is called IBM Cloud Private for Data. What about public cloud, Hemanth?
Yeah, so I think, again, the way we are positioning IBM Cloud Private for Data is this is for multi-cloud, because we are built using containers and Kubernetes. It doesn't really matter if you lay them on a bare metal platform in your data center behind the firewall, or you're putting this on any public cloud infrastructure such as Amazon AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google GCP. So it gives the same framework, right? The big difference here is that this is for a dedicated cloud. That is, it's not IBM managed. This is managed by the customer. We do also support IBM managed offerings on public cloud, on IBM cloud, and also on non-IBM clouds. Yes, that's also an option if customer wants to, but specifically ICP for data is for multi-cloud, and this is customer managed.
So Madhu, a couple of questions for you. First one, just very simply, you talk about open APIs. How open are they? In other words, if I'm a customer listening right now or a partner, how easy is it to hook into those APIs, and how would I go about doing that? And then just secondly, anything to add that against what Hemanth just said?
Yeah, so the APIs are, very easy to bring on any add-ons. If you look at our ICP for data experiences out there, you can get a self-tour and see how many add-ons from partners we have. So that's very easy. And the way we have internally, we have set up what we call a playground, ICP for data playground, where partners would approach us. Obviously, we as a team decide what's critical for us to bring on, and once those decisions have been made, the clients would just come in and leverage our playground. So this way, the solution end of the day to the client is seamless experience. And we have, depends obviously from various partners, but Ally have seen where within a week to perhaps a couple of weeks when we can get the partners up and running on what we offer through the playground, and then push through the production, obviously, when all the quality testing and other things have been verified and the use cases thoroughly tested. Easy to push into production after that.
On the playground side, if I'm a partner or client alike, am I able to use my own data, or do I throw dummy data into the playground just to get a feel for the platform?
Yeah, so, it depends, on certain partners. If there is a need for isolation, very easy for us to provide that. It's still a multi-tenant, meaning within the same organization, you could have multiple users, but very isolated for your organization or your partners, and you're free to bring your own data and leverage from there, right? I mean, security aspect for our platform is very, very critical. We take this very seriously.
All right. The one question I have, speaking of data, if I'm a client or a partner, listening right now, I'm listening, I'm probably thinking, look, I'd love to take advantage of a microservices architecture. Everything you're saying makes sense, but you guys don't get how much data I have. I cannot afford to move data. Moving data costs me money. I've got ETL on my systems already today. I can't afford to disrupt the business that I've already got established to make a move to a whole new platform. And I guess, so this question is out to Hemanth or you, Madhu. What is your response to that? How do I get started? I mean, I got the sandbox, but man, it's still cumbersome when I'm thinking about, hey, I got so much data and already my existing repositories, I can't afford. I've been moving to data lakes already, and God forbid if I had to do it again.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty straightforward, Al. We're not expecting our customers to move their data onto our platform. They can if they want to, if they're trying to come up with something net new in terms of a process or an application, and if they want to store their data in a relational database or a NoSQL database, we all support all of those, right, if they want to. However, if they already have databases or data lakes or data warehouses, you can simply connect to them. We have a great new technology as part of the platform called data virtualization. It's all homegrown, based on a net new technology that we developed in our research labs. That is far more superior when compared to data federation. So we can connect to the data sources and govern and analyze the data from within IBM Cloud Private for Data. So our message is pretty straightforward. You don't need to move your data. Keep the data where it is. We can connect to it, and we can basically start monetizing it from the platform.
Yeah, that's well said. Just one comment, and Hemant mentioned this, but I want to sort of underscore it. There are a few niche players outside, right, who claim that they can do data virtualization, but I think the technology which we are providing through this platform, one of the key underscore here is that, look, when you reach to AI, when you get to those models, as we were talking earlier, Al, on the explainability and the traceability, it is going to be so critical that you are able to understand the lineage of all these virtual objects, so to speak, right? The various joins which has been happening across the board to bring that data for you. That's a key differentiator, which not too many of our competition can get to. And that's one of the differentiator from this platform perspective. As I was talking earlier about our enterprise knowledge catalog as being a key tenet of the platform.
Makes sense to me. And I threw you guys a softball because I was hoping, Hemanth, you're going to say something about virtualization, which kind of been my baby, and we're pretty proud of it. I have a few more questions. These are like what I call the lightning round for you, Madhu and Hemanth, just to get you guys to know you personally with the remaining minutes that we have. But before I do that, is there anything left around ICP for Data that was left unsaid that we need to make sure that the community hears? Or did we get it?
I think we covered almost every aspect. I think the only thing I will make a point that we are truly continuously developing and integrating. We are very focused on innovation, and just keep an eye out on this one, right? We are just going to be releasing very soon, end of this month, our new accelerator around regulations, which will definitely save lots of money to our clients and get ready for them to be compliant. So there's a lot of new innovations coming on top of this platform.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I would just second what Madhu said, right? I mean, within the 6 or 7 months that you talked about, Al, we did 4 releases. That is unheard of within IBM. So we are acting and executing as a startup, and we will continue to do that. We're trying to bring in more innovations into this platform. So the rate at which we are moving forward is essentially an exponential scale, right? So that will continue.
And also to our listeners, if anybody would want to join our advisory council, we're open to that and would love to get some feedback from our clients or potential customers.
All right. That's good. I think we nailed it. So look, if you don't mind, I've got a few questions for you all. This is one of our favorite things where we get to know you guys a little bit better. I'll start with Hemanth. So I'll ask you, and then I'll go back to Madhu. We'll go back and forth here a little bit. Hemanth, what do you do for fun, man?
I do play a little bit of basketball. At least I used to play a lot more before I started off with ICP for Data. ICP for Data keeps me very busy, but yeah, I do play a little bit of basketball over the weekend. I also try to take my kids to a bunch of things, so they keep me busy as well. So that's primarily what I do for fun.
You made to work on that word try. I'm sure your wife doesn't appreciate try. You got to get them to those locations. Hey, so what about you, Madhu? You live in the Bay Area. That's always sunny, right? After the flooding that I experienced last week.
Yeah, absolutely. I live in a beautiful foothills here. So what I like to do for fun is to squeeze time for hiking. I try to do that on the weekends.
Nice. Who would you say is your number one role model today?
Yeah, I have a lot of role models as well. I mean, if I were to pick one or two, and you're putting me on a spot, I would say Steve Jobs. And within IBM, I worked very closely with Rob as an EA, and I do consider him as a role model as well.
What are the attributes that inspire you?
I think there are a few attributes that I like. One is obviously trying to be market-centric as opposed to be inward-centric. And secondly, ability to influence others without actually controlling them, right? It's a soft influence. And there are a few others, but I think those are the two.
All right, Madhu, what's your number one role model?
So Al, I got many role models, as Hemanth was saying, right, for every aspect of our life. I have many different folks within IBM and outside. But if I truly have to sit back and think genuinely who is that one person who inspires me the most, it was my mother. And the reason I say that is because she was a petite 4'11" woman, firecracker, and always believed that she could do whatever her heart was set to. And as I look at her growing up at the years she was growing up, the challenges as a woman she faced, and how she fought against all that, how she challenged not just herself, but everybody around her to push out of the status quo, their comfort zone, and reach the successes. She has always been encouraging me to be the best version of myself, so I look up to her.
Nice. You're a firecracker as well. So now I know where it comes from. So I know you're involved in encouraging women in the world of tech as well, right? Anything that you'd say there?
That's right. Oh, yes. I'm very motivated, and I think that comes from my mom. And it also comes from many women in IBM who has helped with my path. So I do give back a lot. I sit on IBM Asian Corporate Council. That gives me an opportunity to work across IBM and with women, and especially in the Bay Area. I lead the Women Charter. We do a lot of activities. I do include men in this too. But yes, a big champion of them. I mentor close to hundreds of women, and we are always looking for opportunity to give them a very safe and open platform to bring their talents forward.
Fantastic. Well, speaking from a guy with 3 daughters, I applaud that.
Al, you're one of the role models because, peers like you make it very easy. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Hey, Hemanth, a couple more questions and then I'll call it quits. But what's the number one thing you want to learn right now?
So I'm always learning. So I do also believe in continuous learning. I'm trying to learn new technologies. I used to code a long time back. I stopped coding and focusing more on the business side of things. I'm trying to get back to more technical. So that's one area that I'm trying to focus on. I always wanted to learn music for a long time. I'm not good at it, but I did buy a guitar recently. So hopefully I will get to learn it, and maybe I'll embrace music. So that's also on my to-do list. And I have a bunch of other things such as get to learn new sports. Racquetball is something that I've taken up, and I wanted to learn that as well. So
if it's anything like me, I've got a guitar, and it's often gathered dust. Rather than have a goal, I've since tried to have a promise. So if I promise myself I'm going to do something, it's a little bit different than a goal, because goals for me get pushed off for other things until I say, I'm promised this is what's going to happen by the end of the year. So hopefully you become the next Eddie Van Halen. So last question for either of you. Is there any kind of leadership book, your favorite leadership book, or any reading, what you're reading now, anything of interest? Because I like to gather this information from all my guests so that I can create my list of books. My minimum goal of reading books this year is 24 books. I've already done 2. So the question stands. I've delayed it long enough. Favorite leadership book, and or any other book you'd recommend?
So, Al, I'm constantly looking to learn more about, good AI and all that good stuff. So I got my hands on Dan Brown's book called The Origin. I just finished that, and it's a great read for us. It kind of looks at how do you reconcile various aspects of different religions / God and AI together, artificial intelligence. So that was an interesting read.
Wow, that would be right up my alley. I got it down. How about you, Hemanth?
Yeah, so I don't have recommendations on books, but I do have some recommendations in terms of what you read on a daily basis. There is a article called Stratechery by Ben Thompson that is an excellent read, and I've subscribed to it. It's $10 a month, but I would definitely recommend it. I also read Wall Street Journal. There is a podcast called How I Built This by Guy Raz, which I think is an excellent podcast if you're interested in learning new stories around entrepreneurship. I would also strongly recommend that.
What was the first one? Stratechery? Sounds like George W. Bush. Stratechery.
Yeah, I think it's he essentially ended up mashing up strategy and technology, I believe. So it's STRATECHERY.
Got it. And we'll put that in the show notes as well. All right. This has been fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here. I consider you guys friends, and that'll be forever. Until next time, everybody, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thank you, Al.
Thanks for listening to the Making Data Simple podcast, where we make data fun. Be sure to visit ibmbigdatahub.com/podcast to access the show notes and uncover even more great episodes. Remember, the views expressed here are those of the host and its guests, and do not necessarily represent the views of IBM. Until next time, over and out.